Hello. Welcome, friends. Thanks so much for joining. Hello, Paul. I'm sorry I didn't respond to your last chat. There are connection difficulties inexplicably again, even though I'm like right next to the modem. And I was just trying to troubleshoot. So hopefully this is y'all like it says the connection is poor. Are you able to hear me? It looks like it's slow. I swear there's something messing with me. There's no reason that this connection should be poor. It said the connection was excellent a second ago. I don't know what to do. I thought I'd done everything possible to prevent this. All right. Audio is good. It's frustrating about the video though. Thanks for letting me know, Paul. I guess I could link to a vertical live in the chat here so that anyone who sees this goes to the vertical live instead. It's like there are 3 people here right now. I've complained about this so much, but none of these types of problems happened before like a year and a half ago. It really feels like something is messing with me to try and make it hard to share what's going on and to talk about seeds. I guess I want you to be able to see me. Um, it just said that the connection was excellent like a second ago. And again, I'm like right next to the modem. I apologize, y'all. This makes me so furious though. These systems just like not doing what they're supposed to do. Okay, I'm going to create a vertical live, because then I can at least, I'm on my laptop, I guess, obviously. I'm going to link that in the chat here and then just start doing that because I think that connection should be, it has backup connectivity because it's on the Wi-Fi, but then it also has my like cell phone plan. I'm going to put that link in the chat right here. Okay, just a second and I'll do that. Hello, I'm trying to share this. If you'll just give me a second, sorry. Want to share it with the chat that is currently on YouTube. So that's going to take me a second. Currently on YouTube, like in horizontal live where the connectivity isn't working for some reason. So I'm going to do that. Paste. Thanks for joining. If you're here, I appreciate it very much. This is hilarious. Can you see me? I don't want to end the live. Paul says much better. Hi, Paul. You can see me. I can't see myself, which doesn't make any sense. I'm just going to quickly put this link in the chat for the horizontal live. This has never happened before either. Y'all, oh my gosh. I can't see myself in this vertical live, but Paul says he can see and hear me. So, okay, that's what matters. Okay. All right. Yay. That something is working well enough, I guess. Here's okay. So I wanted to do this sort of kind of silly. The State of the Seeds is a silly name, like the State of the Union. But I wanted to do this address. It's sort of a new tradition that we have that I have been doing annually. This might only be the second year. I might have done it for the first time last year in January, where I share about what's going on with seeds and about how that fits in with like the global, what's going on a global scale right now, and sort of the longer term vision of seeds, um, based on what I know right now at this moment in time in January of 2026. So this is meant to, like just better communicate how I'm seeing what's going on so that you're aware of this too, and to invite your feedback as somebody who's interested in seeds or who has contributed to seeds like Paul has. And yeah, just to talk about everything that's going on, because there is, needless to say, a lot of activity, a lot of events happening externally, many of which are really distressing. And it's just time for an update. I've been out of the Seeds Discord for a little while and trying to focus on, well, a multiple things which I'll share with you. But one of those things is figuring out how to better share about seeds so that we're connecting with more people who are interested in mutual aid, who understand that the old economic system isn't working and who are looking for alternatives. But at the same time, seeds has flaws itself that we need to address. And I want to talk about those flaws now and what we've learned and mistakes I've made and mistakes Seeds has made and how we're addressing that going forward too. So what we'll do, my intention and sort of like the structure for this talk, is to look at this from both like a spiritual and a practical standpoint, right? And that includes, going over mistakes that I've made and Seeds has made, as I touched on, but also, I mean, the spiritual, I think, is so present at this moment in time. I think, and I want to speak openly about spirituality in talks like this because it's so important and it informs so much of what Seeds does. But I think we're at this kind of juncture right now. I intentionally scheduled this address for today because Neptune went into Aries yesterday, and I think that's going to mean that things start picking up. And beyond that, um, framework, sort of like the spiritual and the practical, I want to look at three different areas. The first area I'd like to talk about is what's going on globally and nationally in the United States, the country where I live. And then I want to talk about what's going on for seeds and what I see, like the vision for seeds in the intermediate term and in the longer term. And then I also wanted to share some updates about me personally. I know Paul had mentioned that he'd read the last blog post, or I guess it's two blog posts ago now, but I'm interested in this idea of like the limitations of the creator of a thing, the unhealed things in that creator show up in the things that they make, right? And that's the reason that a lot of big tech is so messed up, that plus capitalism. But in my case, as the founder of Seeds, I mean, I have my own things that have contributed to issues and flaws, and my own things that my own sort of like personal, yeah, just like unhealed wounds that I need to address. And so I'm working to do that. And I want to talk about what's showing up for me personally, because it's also manifested in a bunch of physical health issues recently. And also like how that informs what's going on with seeds and how bringing awareness to that is so important. I think it's important for everybody who makes a thing, especially if it's something that involves other people, right? I mean, if it's a work of art that you're just sharing for people to consume or people to reflect upon, it's a little bit different. But I think this is really important for people that started organizations, right? Which is what Seeds is. Seeds is an organization. So within that context, we'll take it from the macro down to the micro. We're seeing, I think, in a way that's increasingly undeniable, right? This collapse of the old systems. I've been talking about this for a long time. A lot of people have been talking about this for a long time. It really seems like Trump is unwittingly the the perpetrator for all of this. I mean, I think he stepped into this role to really show us how much these old systems don't work, and how much negative wounded masculine energy is in all of that. I mean, as I'm recording this, Alex Preddy was murdered 2 days ago. Was it? I guess it was Saturday, so I guess that's 3 days ago now. And yeah, we're seeing the country that I live in, increasingly the government is violently turning against its citizens. And this is supposedly supposed to be like the land of the free, and it's the richest country in recorded history. So, like, all of this happening is really showing us that capitalism doesn't work well, and that these governing systems aren't working very well either. But what we don't have is a large understanding of sort of alternatives, right? Like, the one alternative that we've been aware of for 150 years or whatever is something like communism or socialism. And there isn't a lot of education. I think I'll make this more United States focused because I live here in part, but also because it seems like it's been this sort of focal point for a lot of the recent dysfunction, particularly since Trump took office again in, just over a year ago. So, yeah, it's sort of everything is kind of playing out on this stage here in this country. And a challenge that I find is that we don't know. There's a lot of conversation, I think, about like why this isn't working and how messed up it is, but we don't have alternatives. The one alternative we know about is communism. Um, the democratic institutions here are eroding. There's a lot of distrust and like increasing lack of faith in these systems, and it seems like it's reaching a boiling point from what I can tell. And I find it fascinating that's what astrologers and spiritual people have been talking about for a long period of time. So I know that 2026 is meant to be, as I understand, like I'm like an astrological hobbyist, but also from the context of, like I'm a Vipassana meditator, and we're in this sort of, the gong of Vipassana has been struck, is what one of the teachers in the lineage that I studied in had said, that Vipassana is meant to start spreading at this time. And so seeds includes Vipassana in our model as well. So it's just this kind of, I think a lot of us incarnated at this time to be alive for this very moment, um, which is, it's chaotic, but I think it's also going to be a sort of fascinating time. I apologize, I gotta do one more thing on my other device. Um, so yeah, within all of those that instability, I mean, we're seeing greater increases of wealth inequality as well. Trump's stupid tariffs have contributed largely to that instability, and it's made the markets really unpredictable. I want to talk a bit more about that because the cryptocurrency markets they don't do what they used to do. And so that's made things more difficult as well, because the things that I used to do to be able to make significant profits when trading cryptocurrency aren't working anymore. And that's affected Seeds as well, because I would put trading profits that I made into the Seeds mutual aid pool and into Seeds as an organization. And excuse me, yeah, like if Trump is, suddenly talking about taking Greenland and then changing his mind, it's pretty difficult to make decisions within that environment, because you can't predict that. I mean, you can predict that he's going to be unpredictable and that he's going to do narcissistic things, but it's just, I'm finding that to be, it's just such a destabilizing factor. Um, Paul says, I hope the state you're in is safe. Thanks, Paul. I'm in Portland, Oregon. Oregon is the state, and there was an ICE shot some, I think there were Venezuelan immigrants here a little bit after the first murder in Minnesota. There's protesting happening here, but yeah, this is a part of the reason I'm living here now is because it's a progressive place. Thank you for saying that, Paul. But yeah, Trump is kind of targeting progressive places too. Anyway, so within that context, yeah, the markets, the crypto markets, which I and lots of people, expected to move with the cycles as they had for the last, what, almost 17 years, they didn't do that. They didn't move in that way in December, or rather in the end of 2025. We expected, based on past market cycles, that they would go up a lot. And that just didn't happen. Like Ether hit all time highs in August, but those all time highs were barely above what it had reached in 2021 in the previous cycle. And yeah, it's been sort of interesting. And I wanted to talk about this on a personal level because nothing has worked. And it almost feels like if one thing that used to work, or one idea that I'd had as the founder of Seeds, if one of 6 or 7 different things that we were working on and trying had worked, then we would be totally, it's not that we're not fine, but things are just more difficult right now. If anything had worked, then we would have, an abundance of funds and things would have carried on as the way they had in the past, but nothing worked. And it's just been interesting to see it when I'm talking about like energies messing with me and messing with Seeds. It does feel like there's something there interfering, but I think that's going to shift soon. So yeah, I mean, we're seeing these cycles playing out. My For what it's worth, my sense of why the crypto markets didn't go up, like not everyone, but a lot of people who had been trading for years expected them to in the end of 2025, because that's always what had happened at that point in the cycle. It seems like I didn't anticipate this either, but because particularly Bitcoin has become so institutionalized with like the introduction of the Bitcoin ETF in January of 2024, what I didn't see coming is that because cryptocurrencies became more institutionalized, Bitcoin and Ether in particular, it's like people are hedging Ether trades against their Bitcoin investments. And it seems like that's really held Ether down, whereas Bitcoin did go up more percentage wise. If Ether and Bitcoin had retained the relationship that they've kept for years and years, then Ether would be around $12,000 a coin right now instead of less than $3,000 a coin. So it's really like it's been significantly tamped down, and even Bitcoin didn't run like it used to. And so what I didn't anticipate them hedging it in this way. The Ether market in particular, because I've been trading Ether more actively, it just really feels manipulated. It will sometimes take turns that you can't, in my experience, you can't see coming. And it just feels like BlackRock, some organization that holds a large amount of Ether, is messing with the price. And I really think some of it, the manipulation is about, getting retail traders like you and me to put our funds in to then try and get shaken out of the market so that they can buy things up more cheaply. But the other facet of that I didn't anticipate is that they've kind of turned Ether into like a shitty stock. Like it just moves kind of sideways, like a stock that isn't viewed to be that valuable. And it's so disappointing because they've just brought it into the system and made it the same thing. And that was never what it was intended to be. And I don't think that's going to last forever. I still believe in Ether in particular. I'm a big believer in Ether. But I mean, when trading Ether recently, like I think it was, yeah, the biggest single move that we had, like in a moment in time, was when there was a Fed announcement from like the Fed in the States. The chair of the Fed, Jerome Powell, talked about interest rates, and that moved the market. And that's I that meant that I think he's a 72-year-old man, one 72-year-old white American man made remarks that moved Ether, which is meant to be a decentralized ecosystem. So that's about as centralized as you can get in terms of the influence. And it's really a huge bummer. But I think it's just a reflection of those centralized energies, those controlling top down energies, really trying to squeeze everything as much as possible because they're about to go away, because they're about to fall. But that said, it's had this practical impact. in the immediate term, Paul says market feels very manipulated. Yeah, I mean, I really think so too. And I never was of that opinion before, like, really before like the past, I don't know, 6 to 8 months or something like that. To be fair, I wasn't actively trading ether as much prior to then, in this cycle. But yeah, it never has done this before. And I think there's quite clearly some manipulation from some rich people that have a lot of ether. And that was never the dream of what ether was meant to be. Yeah, Paul says gold, silver stocks have run up. Yeah, Paul, I was just thinking about this yesterday because when I used to be a pro stock trader, like in my first job, I've talked about this before. You probably heard me talk about it, but for anyone who might not be aware, yeah, like so when I started trading, it was in April of 2008 when I started trading professionally. So it was like just as the markets were about to collapse. And I found a way to make money through buying gold stocks because people didn't trust the market. So gold was going up and there were stocks that were, like grounded in the value of gold. So I just bought those and they went up. And that kind of aligned with my personality because I tend to be optimistic. And it seems like that's a move to do again right now. I mean, we know that gold just topped 5,000 US dollars for the first time ever. Excuse me. It just seems like that's maybe the wise investment to be making at this point in time. Um, and that was true in 2008 also. And I feel like, that's not coincidental. It shows that there's dysfunction in the markets overall. So now I'm going to bring this to seeds. So what this has meant for seeds is that the levers, um, Paul, I'm sure you know a lot of this already. This may be familiar to folks that watch this later, but the things that worked for seeds for years just like abruptly stopped working in like late 2024-ish and beyond. Maybe even before that though, actually. And as I said earlier, I'd estimate, yeah, there were like six-ish, maybe more different, like, yeah, like levers that we would pull to keep seeds going, to sustain it, to help it to grow. And everything stopped working at once. We had significantly less people adding to the seeds mutual aid pool, and that's what stabilizes the seeds price. In the past, we gave extremely generous bonuses to incentivize people adding to the mutual aid pool. And over time, I just came to realize that it wasn't actually working well because it ended up rewarding people who didn't care enough about helping seeds, essentially. So like the root of all of this, which I'll talk more about when I talk about what's going on for me personally, is that it's been like too much giving to those who are taking too much at the end of the day. I hate to say it, but that's kind of been the theme. And so that's the lesson that needs to be learned and sort of like the safeguards that we need to create. And it's a bummer. I don't want it to be that way. I just want to give openly and trust. But for reasons that I'll share that have to do with my own personal stuff, that hasn't worked well. It needs to be there needs to be a better balance. And that's probably the biggest lesson I think of this point in time. And it's an important lesson to learn. And I'm also working on, like feeling grateful to the people who have helped me learn that lesson, even if their actions weren't like wholesome actions. um, and forgiving there because there were some instances that were pretty painful when I saw, like, for example, like whenever after I was robbed, I've talked about this a lot, but after I was robbed in late 2024, and I used seeds to ask for help, there were some folks who I think kind of gone above and beyond to personally help, and that seeds had certainly also helped. And one said that one just volunteered to send a gift. This is a person I thought of as a friend too. And then she just disappeared and never sent the gift. And she'd received, I think, a $5,800 gift from Seeds some time ago. A couple others that I reached out to directly, three others I can think of. Um, None of them even responded. So, like, if I'm creating an environment in which when I'm in a crisis and I'm going to people that I've personally helped before and that's the response, that means I'm choosing the wrong people, right? That means that I it's good to help people always, but there also is this discernment factor that I think I was learning a hard lesson surrounding that. And so I'm learning it. I'm learning it, and like I said, trying to do my best to like feel gratitude and forgive. Um but with some of that stuff it was hard because particularly I think with, well, yeah, people that I helped, I think considerably, not even responding was pretty sad. It was pretty sad. And so that just means that I need to understand why I created those situations for myself and not create them again, because it's not helpful for anybody. Like literally no one in that paradigm. It's not good for seeds. It's certainly not good for me personally because it leaves me depleted. It's also not good for the people who are taking, because then they're just like accumulating bad karma that they're going to have to deal with later. So, anyway, yeah, so these various levers that worked for seeds for years suddenly faltered. So, we had a lot less people adding to the mutual aid pool. And I think some of that had to do with the fact that we started to scale back these very generous bonuses that we given for years. And that was the right move because it was incentivizing like the people that wanted to take rather than to help sustain the project. In too many cases there of to be clear, there are some wonderful people that are involved with seeds that I appreciate so much, and Paul is absolutely one of them. And that's terrific that we found those people, but we need to find more of those people and make sure that just like we're not being taken advantage of, I guess, and that I'm not being taken advantage of. And that's just the reality. That's the reality that we have to learn. Yeah, and as I've shared before, like the course, which sustained us for many years, like we literally got 0 course sales in 2025. And that's never happened before. In our best course year, I think we had something like 150 course sales. And I mean, if we get like 30 course sales, like our costs are so low. If we get 30 course sales, that's enough to sustain the project for like a year. So that was interesting. I mean, and there are other like contributing factors. The cryptocurrency markets as a whole going down was part of it, but that also meant that I was reaching the wrong people. If people were suddenly not interested in like using a social good organization or supporting it, because the cryptocurrency markets were down, that means that we weren't finding the people who were actually interested in supporting a new type of ecosystem and interested in what that can do. So the same thing, it was that same challenge kind of showing itself in a different way. And I'm not sure to communicate this now. I don't think I'm going to teach the course again unless it's like a group of people who I know really understand and want to support the vision of seeds. And if we have that, terrific. Like, because I enjoy teaching it, it's fun. And I think I have insight. I know I have, I see, I need to also not be inappropriately modest. I know that the experience that I have in terms of trading and cryptocurrency trading specifically, I mean, I haven't come across anyone on the internet at all or anywhere that has that experience. It's just like factual. Somebody who used to be a pro stock trader who started buying Bitcoin in 2013, who founded their own cryptocurrency project. There's nobody out there that's like that. And so I have that. And the notion that even I like that isn't connecting, that also shows, I think, that like the larger kind of struggle I've been kind of trying to navigate and trying to understand is how much of my time and energy and that of seeds needs to be about sort of like engaging with the old systems. How much of this is like, and I think teaching the course was a form of kind of engaging with the old system, because it's about trading. And even though cryptocurrency is still a new sector, I mean, it's cryptocurrency is now 17 years old because Bitcoin is over 17 years old. But yeah, people still think of it as like a new thing. So it was this toggle between like, I'm sorry, one second. Um, Trying to understand like how much of this is like I need to accept the old way and still engage with it to survive, and how much of my energy should actually be spent just looking at the future that I see and that I envision for seeds and for the world, and sort of just only pointing myself toward that, because it hasn't felt like there's a ton of support for that yet. But I think that is going to shift in 2026 in particular as the energies change. So, yeah, I'm not sure that I will teach the course again unless that's present, unless it's clear that there is a group that really understands and wants to support seeds and is interested in and wants me to do it. And then I'd be happy to do it. But yeah, that larger internal conversation I've been having, that monologue with myself about like how much of this, how much should we engage with the old system at all, has been, I still feel very confused about it. I share, if the horizontal live had worked, I was going to share, like this Buckminster Fuller quote that I've shared a lot. This idea that, so he was like an American futurist who lived in the 20th century. And he has this quote that I'll paraphrase poorly about this idea of like, if you want to change the system, don't fight the existing one. To change the system, build a new system that renders the old one obsolete. And that's very much what seeds is. But the challenge has always been like, seeds still exist within this world. It exists within the context of this existing economy and the existing sort of like perception of cryptocurrency generally. And then it's like, should seeds even use the word cryptocurrency? Because the people that would like mutual aid and that are tired of capitalism, a lot of them hear the word crypto and they immediately think scam, right? And that wasn't true, you know, 3 years ago. So like things have changed very quickly, and I know that they'll change again. And so yeah, that's the thing I've struggled with, like how much should we engage with the old world, because we do still live in this world, right? And I've always thought that seeds was sort of like a bridge to the new world, and that seeds would really thrive when things had shifted a little bit more. And I think we'll see if that bears out. I mean, I believe it with my whole heart, and I think we're getting closer to that shift. But yeah, the thing I've struggled to understand is like how much engagement with the old world is necessary to survive, quote unquote. And so that shows that I have a survival mindset whenever it comes to engaging with the existing world. But in this sort of new world we're bridging into, it's an abundance mindset, which is what seeds is about. It's about creating abundance for everyone who engages with the system. But then also, seeds has been impacted by the scarcity in the existing system. Like the seeds mutual aid pool is super depleted right now. And it's because of these energies in the old system, I would say, the sort of taking energy, this, it's just, it's really been kind of beaten up. Seeds has been beaten up within the context of this old paradigm. And I think what that's meant is that we're supposed to sort of like survive this period. And I'm supposed to learn these lessons as a founder of Seeds about like making sure that we're, like, for example, here, so more practical sort of application. One impact that is terrible of the seeds pool being so depleted right now is that the most recent gift, it was, I think it's the third largest gift that Seeds has ever given, which Paul's familiar with, which went to Jen in late 2025. It was for 30,000 US dollars to help her build a cob house, which I think is like such a cool gift. And Jen was only able to receive, I think it was like $18,000 of that gift before the Seeds mutual aid pool was depleted. So that means she can't yet, we have to wait for the Seeds value to go back up before she's able to get the remaining $12,000 of that gift. We've never had anything remotely like that happen before, and it can't happen again. And Seeds will come back up in value, and we're adding to the mutual aid pool as much as we can. But like, as I say, like the old levers, selling the course, me trading and making, significant profits trading, and then being able to put my personal trading profits into the mutual aid pool, none of that works anymore. So like we can't do that ourselves. And I think it's trying to teach me like, yo, you shouldn't be doing that. Like it's got to be reaching more people who are helping it to sustain. And I was doing too much. I've shared versions of this many times before, but it's just like the lesson really seems like I'm being forced to learn it. It just, it can't be that way where I'm sort of overextending myself and depleting myself. It has to be this nourishing thing for everybody involved. And I mean, I'm the founder of it, right? So like when you're the founder of the thing, you often have to make a lot of sacrifices at the beginning, right? And yeah, I've made a lot of sacrifices for Seeds. I was arrested in Nairobi for no reason and held in a Nairobi jail working on Seeds. I've put lots of money into Seeds, my own money over the years, and had very difficult financial circumstances for many years while working on Seeds. And I'm totally happy to do all of that. But I think it's just reached the point where it can't continue that way. And I think my body, my physical body, is also forcing me to acknowledge that as well. So I want to talk about that too. And yeah, just as a last thought about like sort of the meta or macro environment that we're in. I mean, I was thinking too about the like the support that we do receive in the old systems through governmental systems and so forth. So much of that is like that money is available because people are forced to pay it, because rich people are forced to pay taxes, and a lot of them don't even pay anywhere near the percentage of taxes that regular people pay, right? It's like, so like that, I think that's very simple. What's the right word? It sort of illustrates this idea. Like Seeds is about a world where people are giving and they're building abundance through giving and they're helping others. And, you know, this idea of creating a bigger pie for all involved. The old system is about forcing people to pay money so governments can give us services. And then those governments are not doing a good job of giving us those services at all. And it's a mess. It's just very much, yeah, just like of this new energy. And so in the past, it's been very frustrating to me, for example, when, you know, like in one instance, Seeds gave a gift to a new mom in South Carolina, a Black woman who was having her second child, and there were complications, and the stupid hospital was going to charge her $4,000 for this like routine birth. I mean, there were complications as I understand, but just like stuff like that where Seeds is filling the gap so that fucking health insurance companies, which are dictating healthcare, can profit. That's awful. That's terrible. And that's happened a lot, many times where Seeds has given a gift because these systems aren't working. But Seeds has its own flaws as well, as I say, that we need to address. So yeah, so speaking to that specifically, to mistakes that Seeds has made that we need to address, like a situation like Jen's, where she wasn't able to get her full gift when she wanted to get it, can't happen again. So solutions that we've come up with to address this include like, um, da-da-da. Yeah, tranches. So what we're going to do in the future, especially if it's a gift that large. So Jen's gift was unique in many ways. One of the reasons it was unique was because it was like the third largest gift we've ever given. And another way it was unique was because, truly unique, because we've never had this circumstance before, is because its size was very close to the size of the mutual aid pool as a whole. So that makes the whole model like precarious. So what we need to do to make sure that nothing like this happens again could involve and should involve, I think, giving people the option to receive their gift in tranches so that they just get it like at a certain moment in time. So even if the pool is depleted for some reason, if they're receiving their gift in tranches, they're still going to get that amount that aligns with the amount. Like, for example, because she got all of her gift at once, she benefited because the Seeds price, she benefited at first because the Seeds price went up. And so she got even more money than she initially would have gotten, right? But then whenever the mutual aid pool was depleted, then it was a lot less money that was available to her. So if we're giving the gifts in tranches, then she can just redeem them as she receives them, and we're not going to have that risk of a fluctuation in price. So that's one thing we can do that we're going to do in the future. We should also keep, Seeds itself should keep a reserve in stable coins. And this is like a little bit of a painful lesson too, because it was about trust. I trusted that other people would be stewards of the Seeds mutual aid pool. And we only started referring to it as a mutual aid pool, I'd say, really in like the last year and change, to try and help people understand that that's what it is. It's a mutual aid pool. if folks are taking from it, then there are less funds in there and so forth. It's a pool. It's not a market in the same way that, you're just trading the market if you're trading Apple stock or something like that. There are similarities. There's this cross section that's where we exist. It's sort of this nexus between, so-called nonprofit and for-profit work. But I think a lot of people, so some of this is a communication problem as well. I think a lot of people didn't realize that if they were selling seeds, it's taking funds from the mutual aid pool, and also people should be able to do that. They should be able to do whatever they want with their funds. But again, this points to that idea of like needing to find more people who want to be stewards of the seeds vision and want to help support it, so that we have more people doing that and less people taking from it. I mean, people can take from it as they want, and they should be able to, if we have that balance. But if there are obviously too many takers, then we end up in a situation like we're in right now, where the pool is super depleted, and I can't do the things I used to do, like making profits and trading, to shore it back up again. And I think at the end of the day, that's good, because it means that we have to approach this in a different way. I can't do that anymore. I can't be sort of giving more than I should be to sustain seeds. It needs to be sustained by others as well, to like, I mean, not to the same extent, because like I don't expect other people to do the stuff that I've done, right, to keep it going. But it just, as I've said in different ways many times, like we need to find more people who are really into that and want to support it in that way. And it doesn't take much either. Like the seeds, that's the thing, like there are so many, I mean, I think we shared this in the Discord. Like Michael had said that something like $20,000 would bring the pool right back to where it was in late 2025. And for lots of people in this world, particularly in the United States, that's not very much money. I don't personally have $20,000 though to put into the pool myself now, or I would have already done it. So yeah, it's just like, it's, our costs are so low, relatively speaking. It's not going to take that much to address this over time. But yeah, that's just where we are right now. I don't have a rich person that I can go to ask them to put that amount of money in the pool, although I'm trying. That one of the things I'm doing now, that I've been devoting my time to since like stepping away from like day-to-day seeds communication in the Discord and so forth, is I've been focusing on trying to find rich people basically to help with this. But I'm also conflicted about that, because it's like, that's that idea of engaging with the old world, right? And like this idea that rich people will be philanthropic, and I guess I have to do that because of the existing environment that I'm in and that Seeds is in. But that's not the way we want to go longer term, right? Like Seeds is decentralized. It's about helping everybody. It's about benefiting the giving people. And yeah, so that's just not, that's like what startups do. They go to rich people and try to convince them to invest. And what Seeds is something different than that. I used to think it was a startup years ago, and it's just not. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like this sort of mutual aid idea that is bridging the for-profit, nonprofit worlds to genuinely create this opportunity for giving people to build abundance because they helped. There's nothing like that I'm aware of. And that's another reason I think it's been challenging, right? When it's a new thing, when you finally break through, then that new thing can really soar, and then there'll be copycats and so forth. But like up until that point, when it doesn't sort of fit into a category, I think, that's typical for quote unquote new things, or things that seem to bridge worlds that people hadn't thought about connecting, like cryptocurrency and helping people, for example. I mean, anyway, I think you understand what point I'm trying to make. So yeah, those are issues that Seeds needs to address to prevent something like this from ever happening again. Another thing we're going to do is to make an adjustment. It'll be a dynamic adjustment, because up to this time, 100% of the gifts that came through Seeds the value of those gifts would go to recipients. And that worked because we had these other levers, like the course sustaining the mutual aid pool and cryptocurrency itself going up in value. That was a big thing. Like if the markets, like I said, like of these 6 different levers that we would pull, if one of them would have worked, then things would have been this the status quo would have been maintained, but everything didn't work. Everything failed last year or last like year and a half. Cryptocurrency didn't go up. It didn't go up very much. So that's another thing. We let's force this situation where we need to look at things and think like it's dope, and I still want us like the solution that we've envisioned is Seeds to date has, as I just started saying, 100% of the gifts that come through the Seeds ecosystem, the value of those gifts goes to recipients. That's something that nonprofits very I'm only aware of one that can say that, and they're a massive nonprofit and they have rich people supporting their operating expenses. Seeds was able to do this because of these levers that worked, because of yeah, just the way the ecosystem was designed and cash flow and the way cryptocurrency had gone up in value substantially over the years. We're going to need to adjust that now. And I've shared this before, I know, in a session that we had with Paul, I think in our last course. Um, my understanding is that the most efficient nonprofits ensure that 80% of the gifts that come through their system make it to recipients. So they have an operating cost of 20% of those, the gifts coming in. So Seeds is going to need to do this on some sort of dynamic scale, because just very recently we were in a situation where like we don't have enough funds to cover our operating expenses, and so we did have to dip into the mutual aid pool to get a little bit of money, and we're replenishing that, but I don't want that to have to happen. It doesn't matter longer term, like if Seeds are available on a lot of platforms and there's a lot of liquidity in the market, then we could do that and it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't have any effect. But when the mutual aid pool is still this small, excuse me, as small as it is right now, then it has an effect. And so we need to set things up so that that doesn't have to happen. So we need to do that. So it'll be a dynamic adjustment based on the amount of gifts coming in. So if there are more gifts coming in as well, we also wouldn't need to dip below 100%, because then we have cash flow and it's fine. But yeah, gifts have really dwindled in the last year and a half as well. And yeah, it's just a function of it's like a marketing thing or whatever. I kind of hate using that word, but yeah, it's just finding more people who are into what we're doing at Seeds and sharing that with them. Yeah, so that's it at the end of the day. So like I think I maybe share this in the Discord. I know that Michael had said it in the Discord as well, but my focus at this time in terms of work has been about like, first of all, I need to approach work in a way that does not leave me depleted in any sense, financially, energetically, like in terms of putting out so much to people who can't receive it or aren't interested in receiving it and aren't reciprocating. I have to stop doing that. And I haven't made a YouTube video, like an edited YouTube video in like 2.5 months, because I realized I can't approach it in the way that I used to approach it. Like YouTube is probably going to be the engine that will most quickly reach more people who are interested in supporting Seeds. TikTok worked really well for that a few years ago, except it didn't work as well as I thought it did, because with short form, I've talked about this before, but like with short form videos, it was like I just became thought of as like a cryptocurrency person. And I think I was one of the first people to talk about cryptocurrency on that platform, but they didn't get that I was doing that to share about Seeds, to share about transcending capitalism. And so it's almost like the followers that I was able to accumulate there, I mean, none of that is translated into sustaining Seeds longer term, which was kind of jarring to realize, but now I know, right? So like with YouTube, it's long form videos. I think people get to know you better personally. And YouTube itself can also be, of course, like a revenue stream. I'm not monetized on YouTube yet, but I think that could happen within the next few months if I'm just making consistent edited videos. So that's the plan. But I also became aware that I really can't, like in the past, I would just kind of force myself to do it, force myself to get a video out every week. There was a lot of this energy of forcing myself, of like, I have to do this, surrounding my work and all facets of what Seeds is. And it's kind of like I just couldn't do that. Like I knew I shouldn't do that anymore because it left me depleted, and then it was attracting more behaviors that further depleted me. But also, so this is like a good segue, I guess, into what's been going on with me. My body is like revolting. My physical body is no longer allowing me to do that. So I've talked a bunch on my YouTube channel about my eating disorder recovery and stuff. And you can like just look at the videos and know that I've gained a massive amount of weight. But that's what's supposed to happen through eating disorder recovery. But the thing is, like at this point, I'm like over a year and 9 months into eating disorder recovery. I started in April of 2024. And I thought that more of this excess weight would just come off by this time, and it can take a long time. But there've also been other amazing instances of progress that have happened through the eating disorder recovery that I never thought I would see. So I'm grateful for going through the process. I'm grateful for like how it's helping me with my internalized fat phobia. It's also been interesting to be this fat now and kind of engage with the world and see like how it changes perceptions, but a lot of them are just my internalized perceptions. It's not like anyone's being mean to me because I'm fat, except occasionally I think in YouTube comments. But um, yeah, I don't know. It's just been confronting and helpful in a bunch of different ways. But I thought more of this weight would come off by this time. So that's been a whole thing, and that was about nourishing myself instead of restricting. The same things, like not allowing myself to be depleted. And not only not allowing it, but just like shifting into an energy of being nourished, right? This energy of abundance, which is the entire sort of larger conversation relating to seeds as well. Shifting from this scarcity paradigm that is the current economic ecosystem into this world of abundance that I think seeds is going to thrive in. So it's like, as the founder of seeds, and just as a person, right? And as a woman, because I think so many women are in a similar state where they're just depleted all the time. And it was just like, I couldn't do it anymore. My body wouldn't let me do it anymore. And then on top of eating disorder recovery stuff, in just like the last 6 weeks, I think, or so, I went to the doctor, and one thing led to another, and they ended up doing like an ultrasound and a CT scan of my abdomen, and they found 6 different growths, and one thing is going to have to be biopsied. They haven't done the biopsy yet, so they're doing the biopsy to rule out cancer. And I don't think I have cancer. I think whatever is going on is hormonal, which totally makes sense in that my larger mission in this life seems to be about like balancing healthy masculine and feminine energies. And thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. Uh but yeah, it's just kind of, it's confronting because it also means that I am so again, this larger conversation about like I am forced to engage with the existing system because I have to go into the American healthcare system because I live in the States, and this is like where I have insurance in this state of the state of Oregon, which is a lot kinder than a